It's that time of year. We are going bold predictions for the 49ers 2024 season. And Michelle may have the single biggest mimosa I have ever seen in my entire life. We'll explain. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast and the Gold Standard Podcast Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. She's Michelle Magdziuk. Michelle, happy Friday.
Hey, it's a good Friday. It's sunny here in Houston. It's Memorial Day weekend. I have plans to go on a boat this weekend. I never had plans to go on a boat. Let's go. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course it's a good Friday for you. You are drinking the biggest mimosa ever. Just before we hit record, Michelle says, I have a mimosa, and she takes a slug out of this giant Stanley cup. And I'm like, are you drinking 64 ounces of champagne and orange juice right now?
No, that was my water, and I have my mimosa in a normal cup. But yes, you were flabbergasted there for a whole hot second.
Beverage goblin Michelle back on the program. I never saw anybody that drinks 3 drinks at the same time.
You need water at all times, no matter what you're drinking. This is how you stay hydrated.
There's water in everything. You don't need a separate water.
Yes, you do.
All right, if you say so. We have a little fun on today's show. We're going to do bold predictions for 2024. My first prediction is that Michelle is going to crap on all of my predictions. That's what I think is coming.
They're bold predictions for a reason. They're allowed to be bold and crazy.
I think you're not going to think mine are bold enough. I think they're bold. You're going to go, what? Come on.
I'll make up for it because mine are very bold. Well, I'll say my last one is like out here crazy bold, but I actually kind of believe it.
I like you in Crazy Town. That's fine. If you want to be the mayor of Crazy Town, I support it. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'll start the fun.
All right.
So, my first one has to be Brock Purdy, right? I've been his biggest supporter. I feel like this offseason, I've been all up on the Brock Purdy train, but I'm saying he's going to lead the NFL in passing touchdowns, but that's not bold enough, right? Like Dak did it at 36 last year. Purdy was only 5 away to begin with, and he missed a game. But I'm saying he's going to have at least 40 passing touchdowns and lead the league. That would be a 49ers record. He would beat Steve Young's record from 1998 with his 36 passing touchdowns. I'll explain why, but give me your heat factor on that bold take.
Well, I was sort of there with you because one of my bold predictions was going to be Brock Purdy becomes the second ever 49ers quarterback to throw for 30 or more touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. Right now, Jeff Garcia is the only 49ers quarterback ever that has 30 TDs in 2 straight years, which I couldn't believe considering they've had Joe Montana and Steve Young and John Brody and Y.A. Tittle. But Jeff Garcia is the only one that has done that. I think Brock is going to do it this year. He threw 31 last year. I think he's going to throw for 30 plus. I don't know if he's going to go for 40 plus because I don't think people realize 40 plus touchdowns in an NFL season, even with 17 games, is still really rare. 40 plus touchdowns has only been done, I want to say, maybe like fewer than 10 times in NFL history. So that would be an historic year for Brock Purdy if it comes true.
I mean, I don't know about how rare it is recently, right? In 2022, Mahomes led with 41 passing touchdowns. Brady led in 2021 at 40 years old with 43 passing touchdowns. I know I just named 2 of the best quarterbacks to exist in this world, but I think it's going to happen more and more. We had a down year last year with Dak at 36, but Purdy had 31 touchdowns last year with 444 pass attempts. Just insanely low. That should not be staying that low. The only 2 guys that had more passing touchdowns than him, Jordan Love with 32, 1 more touchdown with 579 pass attempts, 140 more pass attempts than him. And Dak Prescott with 5 more touchdowns. He had 590 pass attempts so a good 150 more pass attempts than Purdy. Purdy led all qualified quarterbacks with a 7 pass touchdown percent. But that's not even an insane rate to say, well, that's not going to stay that high, right? Like in 2022, he was at 7.6. 7.0 pass touchdown percent is very high, but it's not an insane rate that you can't repeat. An insane rate you can't repeat is like Aaron Rodgers' 9.1 in 2020 or Lamar Jackson's 9.0 touchdown rate in 2019. those are unrepeatable really to do back-to-back, but 7% is fair. And all you have to do then to get Purdy close to that 40 pass touchdown mark is get him to 540 pass attempts. And you might say, well, that's 100 more than last year. Jalen Hurts had 540 pass attempts last year. There's no reason that Purdy should not be throwing as much as Jalen Hurts or Baker Mayfield or any of those guys. Like, he should be having 540 pass attempts. That is not high. That's not a crazy rate. That's very fair. And that already would put him at over 38 passing touchdowns at a 7% touchdown rate. So he would only need 2 more from there. He has an extra weapon in Ricky Pearsall. He's going into really his second full season as a starter. He should even be better. And he finally has a full off season for this to be his team in the prep. And also maybe Christian McCaffrey doesn't steal 14 rushing touchdowns from him as well. So I see 40 touchdowns this year for Purdy.
I agree with you. I think Purdy's going to be passing more. I think that his production is going to take away from Christian McCaffrey's production, which is just fine, by the way. That's not like McCaffrey's year last year was insane and ridiculous. So I think that it's going to start to shift, like you said, become more of Purdy's team. I loved what Brian Griese said this week about how one of the things he's talked about with Brock in terms of improvement for this year is becoming a more vocal leader around the team, is becoming the leader, have it be his team as opposed to CMC's or Kittle's or Deebo's or anybody. The fact that they are actually discussing this in the locker room, I think is good. I think it's smart. I agree with you about Brock's production. I do want to correct myself. I did add it up. There have been 19 seasons of 40 or more passing touchdowns. That is more than I thought. I was wrong about that. I have to admit it. Most of them have come post 2000. Almost all of them have come post 2000, to be honest. So I needed to update my info on that. It's not as rare as I thought, but they have been playing football for over 100 years, and it's happened less than 20 times. So I will say that.
Yeah, I thought that's on a little low. It's not an easy feat, right? That's why, like, Brock Purdy does that. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, period. If you can put up 40 passing touchdowns, you're one of the best in the league. But I think he is, and that's why I think he could do it.
Come on, Brock. Get it done. I feel super confident he's going over 30. 40 scared me. You think he's going to set the 49ers franchise record again?
30's not impressive anymore. 30, Geno Smith threw 30 last year. Not in 2023, but in 2022. 30 with 17 games. That's not like, wow, you're great. It's 35. Okay, that's getting better. 40 is like, yes, you're great.
The Steve Young season in 98 was 36. With the extra game, you're right. That is a factor. Although Purdy may not play the extra game like he didn't last year because they had everything wrapped up.
I'll give you why he'll be playing the extra game with my third prediction.
All right, hold on. Here's somebody likes my Niners Tecmo Bowl shirt. I'll show it on the camera. There you go. It's one of my favorites as well. If you want it, it's an homage shirt like you're wearing, Michelle. Just click the link in the description of the episode. There you go. I like your shirt because it's just the logo. Nothing else.
It's very fresh. It's very clean. It's clean. Like clean, fresh. Yeah.
Paul Hope says Michelle is setting the bar. 30 isn't impressive. I love it. Shout out to Paul Hope. Everybody watching us across the pond, as they say. All right. I like that Brock prediction. I'm stunned the 49ers haven't had more quarterback touchdowns. And that's going to tie into one of my other predictions later in the show, especially if you're correct, then my prediction is going to look even better. So we'll continue there. What else you got for us?
You don't want to give one, or you just?
Well, I gave my Brock one.
Okay. All right. Well, this one goes off of the Brock one, but it's 5 49ers players will have at least 7 receiving touchdowns this season. That would be the most such players in a season ever for a single team. Only 3 teams have ever had 4, right? So for the 49ers to have 5 players, I'm giving it to obviously Brandon Aiyuk, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo, and Kittle. But I don't know. I kind of am closer to giving it to Jacob Cowing than I am Ricky Pearsall.
Wow.
That's not a part of the prediction. My prediction's just 5 of them will do it. I don't have to get the exact 5 right. But I kind of lean more towards Jacob Cowing. He was a better scorer in college. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but Pearsall wasn't a big touchdown scorer. And I just think they could really utilize his skill set around the goal line. He's really great. I just think you can use him as a weapon. I know he's smaller, but yeah, I'm excited to see what he could do. I hope he can get on the field. But either Pearsall Pearsall or Cowan could be that fifth guy. Like I mentioned, only three teams have ever had 4 such players. The last team that had 4 such players were the 2013 Broncos, and they currently hold the record for the most points per game in a season all time at 37.9. I almost did that as a prediction that they would score the most points per game ever, but 37.9 points per game, I don't know if that ever gets beaten.
That's absurd. But think about that team. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest offenses that we have ever seen. That's the Peyton Manning Broncos. And, as much as people like to rag on Brock for his arm strength and all that, Peyton Manning, those years with the Broncos, he could not throw. Brock Purdy, I bet you, has a stronger arm right now than Peyton Manning had with those years. So it's not like you need a guy with a cannon to put up big numbers. Brock put up big numbers last year. That's interesting, though, because
they were only let me say one thing real quick. They were only 1 away from having 4 players last year. Aiyuk had 8, CMC had 7, Deebo had 7, Kittle had 6. So get Kittle 1 more, and then you have the addition of these 2 guys, and just one of them has to do it. I don't think it's that far off.
Well, here's the tricky part, though. Deebo has only had 7 once in his career. That was last year. That was a career high receiving touchdowns for Deebo in a season, which is staggering when you consider his salary and how he is looked at across the league. He's never even had 8 receiving touchdowns in a season. George Kittle has only had 7 receiving touchdowns or more in a season one time in his career. Like, we think of 7 as like, oh, it's not that much. But when you look at the 49ers and their receiving core, it's not like they have a bunch of guys that put up double-digit touchdowns every year. Now, some of that is because Kyle spreads the ball around a lot. 5 is a lot. Even Christian McCaffrey could have a great year and not put up 7 receiving touchdowns. This one is like, first of all, if you could bet this, Michelle, if you're confident in it, you could, I'm sure, make a hell of a lot of money with this bet.
Yeah, you'd only have to probably put down like $10 to win a couple hundred.
Right?
But I don't know where this bet would possibly be at. But if I say Purdy's throwing 40 touchdowns and we know they spread the ball around, like, I don't see any of these guys really putting up double-digit touchdowns. Maybe Aiyuk. But like they just love to spread the ball around, and Purdy could throw to any of these guys. And if I think he's going to get to 40, that still only gets him to 35. If all these guys did have 7, obviously a couple other guys would have 1 or 2 here and there. But yeah, I'm feeling it.
You didn't put Jauan Jennings in that list.
He has 1 touchdown each of the last 3 years.
He's not going to be there. Jared says Michelle is really aggressive with these takes. Don't worry. As she finishes that mimosa, they're going to get more aggressive by the end of the show. We're going to have a 50 sack season, I think. Who knows what the hell is going to come out of her mouth next. But I like this one. And you're right. That's only 35 touchdowns. He's got 5 more touchdowns somewhere in there, at least, in order to get to your prediction. I will give another one then that sort of ties into what you're saying. My next bold prediction is that Ricky Pearsall is going to set the 49ers rookie record for touchdown catches in a single season. Okay. I bet you no one knows, you can win some bets, who has the 49ers current rookie receiving touchdown record. That would be Dave Parks in the 60s. He had 8. So that means Ricky Pearsall has to have 9. Here's my logic. First of all, I think Pearsall is going to be wide receiver 3 this year, especially because Jauan Jennings has decided to take the route that he's not going to show up to OTAs. Awesome, dude. More opportunities for Ricky Pearsall to get chemistry with Brock. And I think it's going to get worse for Jauan, because I think when everybody does show up, when it's mandatory and everybody's there, Kyle Shanahan's going to be looking on the field. He's going to be like, here's Jauan Jennings, and then here's Ricky Pearsall, this guy in the slot that nobody can cover, nobody could jam. He's faster. His hands are better. He's supposedly, and we don't know, but supposedly a very willing blocker. I think when they get side by side, I think Shanahan's going to be like, what am I doing starting this 7th round draft pick? So I think Pearsall is going to be wide receiver 3. And then when you get to the red zone, where are you as a defense going to deploy your resources? You're going to stop 23. You're going to stop 11. You're going to stop 85. You're going to stop 1. Well, guess what? You can't stop everybody, and I think Pearsall is going to be the beneficiary of that, because what does Shanahan do? He doesn't force the ball to anybody. He gets the ball to the open guy, and I just think by the time you get to Pearsall, defenses are not going to have anything left. He's going to be going up against, a team's 3rd, 4th best corner. Give me Pearsall on that all day. So I think he's going to cash in on that. I think Ricky Pearsall is going to have at least 9 touchdowns as a rookie.
Man, if he has at least 9 touchdowns, then should we be saying that maybe they can beat this record of 37.9 points per game?
That would be a lot. Although I haven't looked at their 49ers schedule from a purely defensive perspective. Like, do they play a bunch of really good defenses? I don't know off the top of my head, so maybe.
I mean, the first game of the year is the Jets, and that's kind of what scared me off of doing that bet, because I'm like, you have to score 35 to 40 points with a couple of, like, with many 40-point games in there, pretty much every game to beat that record. I mean, you can't have any games really of 25 points. Like, you really can't. And I don't know if they can put up 35 to 40 points on the Jets in week one. And then you get the Patriots. You know, the Chiefs were a good defense last year. Maybe the Bears. Like, it's really not too hard of a defensive schedule, actually, looking throughout it.
Are you with me that Pearsall could get to 9, or do you think that's too much?
I think it's too much. Like I said, I could see Jacob Cowing having 7 before I can see him. I mean, what makes you think he's all of a sudden going to be this big touchdown machine when he could never have more than 5 at Florida in a season?
Because he's surrounded by a ton of good players, and he's got the second best offensive play caller in the league with him.
Fair.
You're right. From a defensive perspective, the schedule is not like terrifying for the 49ers. Dallas has a good defense. The Chiefs obviously have a good defense. The Jets have a good defense. But like some of these other teams, I think the Niners are going to be able to do some things.
How many receiving yards do you think Pearsall puts up?
Not much. Maybe like 300-400. But that's the thing.
That would be a wild season, though. 300-400 yards and 7 touchdowns would be a crazy, wild, weird season.
Well, like, first of all, wide receiver 3, what are they known for in this offense? First downs and touchdowns, right? And you don't have to have a ton of catches to get those touchdowns. Maybe most of his catches come in the red zone. Maybe they do some screens. I don't know. I don't think it's out of control. I don't think he's going to get a ton of yards because everything's going to be divided. But yeah, I think he's breaking the rookie touchdown record, which would be crazy because that thing has stood since the 60s, like I said, and no one's really come close. The next closest, I think, is 5. Which I think Jauan Jennings might be close to up there on that list.
Yeah, it's crazy. He scored like a lot his first season, and then since then it's like 1.
Yeah, let me I actually have it right here, so I'll throw it up on the screen if you're watching. 49ers rookie records for receiving yards. It's Dave Parks in 64, then Jauan Jennings, Brandon Aiyuk, and Dante Pettis are second in 49ers history as rookies with 5. Actually, there's a couple more on the list as well. R.C. Owens had 5, and Jimmy Thomas also had 5. So, yeah.
What did Aiyuk have in year 1?
I don't know. I don't think he had a ton. Oh, no, he had 5.
He had a lot of yards.
Yes. Aiyuk, I think, is very close to the top of the single season yardage list. Jerry Rice is number 1 on that list for yardage for rookie 49er wide receivers. And then it's Aiyuk. And then I think Rice is 1. I think Deebo is 2 and Aiyuk is 3.
I like it. I like that one. It's bold.
All right. Good. At least I got 1 in there that you like.
I don't want to give up my last one yet because it's really good. So do you have another one?
Oh yeah, I've got another one. This one you're not going to think is bold enough. And to be honest, I don't know how bold it is, but I think it's going to be true. Leonard Floyd is going to have more sacks opposite Nick Bosa than anyone has had since Bosa has been a 49er.
I thought you were going in a different way there, and I almost did. I thought you were going to say Leonard Floyd will have more sacks than Nick Bosa, and I thought about doing that. But yeah,
you were nodding as I was talking, and then you stopped. I scared you away. So here's the thing: since Nick Bosa has been a 49er, the record for sacks with him on the team is Eric Armstead. His rookie year in 2019, Armstead actually led the 49ers that year with 10. Bosa had 9.5. No one else has come close to that since then. Javon Hargrave actually has the second most last year with 7, I believe. So the 49ers have been searching for someone to pressure the damn quarterback opposite Nick Bosa on the line. I think Leonard Floyd is going to do it. I think he's going to, first of all, just his last 3 years or 4 years, he averages basically 10 sacks a year. So even if he just does his normal Leonard Floyd thing, he's going to do it. He has experience with Brandon Staley. Obviously, I think Staley has had a much bigger influence on this 49ers defense than the team is talking about. And I think Floyd's going to have a monster year. He's going to be the first guy that really gets that like Bosa bump that we've been talking about the other edge rusher should get, I think Leonard Floyd will.
100%. You got to at least give him 10 sacks this year. And I won't be surprised if he has more than that. I mean, like he had 10, last year with the Bills while being pretty, like he didn't have a Nick Bosa on that line. They have some good players, but not a Nick Bosa, not even a Hargrave. Like, so when you give him these guys that you get to play with that are going to take so much attention away, Floyd should have a very, very good season. I won't be surprised if he puts up 10 or if he puts up 12, 13 sacks. I still think Nick Bosa has double digits, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Floyd at 13 and Bosa at like 12.
I love that Bosa is at OTAs. You know, he said Shanahan talked to him about the importance of getting there, getting around the guys, talking to some of the newer defensive linemen. I love it. I think he admitted last year the holdout and the contract stuff, it messed with him. He did not have as good a year. He didn't look like the same Nick Bosa that we have seen, especially coming off his defensive player of the year. It's crazy that like 10.5 sacks could be a down year, but like that's how far he has set the bar. I believe he's like third all time for the 49ers in sacks, or close to it already, which is crazy. So the fact that he's there, I love that. If you get peak Nick Bosa with Leonard Floyd, with Jauan Hargrave, all of a sudden this defense is looking a lot better.
And then hopefully they can help out their secondary. That's, some of those guys are really experienced and really solid. And then you have a lot of inexperienced guys. You're going to need that pass rush to get there faster, right? That was a big issue with they help each other. So in the beginning of last year, remember there were so many quarterback pressures, but they couldn't close because the secondary wasn't kind of doing their job. Then the secondary shut down teams a bit better, right? Travarius Ward got on his game. He was one of the best towards the end of the season. And that's when you started to see the stacks starting to come. So they need to all help each other. But if they can have a better pass rush, that should help the secondary. And if the secondary can step up, that'll help the pass rush.
I actually think that people are underrating how good the 49ers defense was last year. Talk about the points per game. Yes, we know they allowed the fewest red zone drives, I believe, of any, or second fewest, of anybody else in the entire league. Third fewest points per game. The bar is really, really high for the 49ers defensively. And this year they play a lot of good quarterbacks. I'll throw the schedule back up on the screen quickly. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers in week 1, they got to play Stafford twice. We know they've got to play Mahomes. They've got to play Dak. They've got to play Jordan Love. They've got to play Josh Allen in Buffalo. Jared Goff, I don't put him as a great quarterback, but he certainly has put up very good numbers. Tua Tagovailoa, same thing, very good numbers. So I do not envy Nick Sorensen because the bar is high, and I think you're playing a better schedule this year, or a tougher schedule, I should say, from an opposing quarterback perspective than you played last year.
Yeah, the 49ers are in a tricky situation because their defense has been so good that when they do allow a couple touchdowns, they're like, what happened to the defense this game? It's like every defense allows drives, right? This, especially in today's league, it is geared towards an advantage towards the offense. It makes playing defense even harder. And I feel like, especially when they went through that stretch of being able to be run on a bit, instead of like the 49ers shutting down the run game, teams were able to run, and it was like, what is happening? But they weren't a bad defense ever, right?
No.
They were never a bad defense. Their expectations are just so high. And I think it'll even be harder for them this year if we do expect this offense to put up so many points. Like, the opposing offenses are going to be passing more. They're going to be going through the fourth quarter trying to make a comeback. Like, this defense is going to have to play all game long to like really keep those points down, those yards down. It's going to only be harder for them. And then you mentioned all those quarterbacks they have to play.
We have some people asking questions and offering their own bold predictions in the chat. Keep them coming. I'm starring them. We will get to them. I promise you. So keep them coming. I love it. But let's, continue going through our list here.
So I actually saw mine. Someone said it. Someone said my last one. So the 2024 49ers will become the second team in NFL history to have a perfect season.
Oh, my God.
They would be the first team to go 20-0 or, So the other team is the 1972 Dolphins, but they only needed 17 wins to win the Super Bowl, right? And have a perfect season. The 49ers would need 20. They would have to go 20-0. And I'm saying they're going to do it.
No.
Yes.
You can't say that because your official record prediction for the 49ers was 14-3.
That was just me being safe. This is my bold prediction. I honestly wanted to keep going, just give them wins. I was trying to be realistic while going through it. This is my bold prediction. They're completely two different things.
I mean, good God, that was bold. Apparently, Mark Pelkey is the one who said that the Niners would have. I saw that in the chat, and I was like, oh, that's a fan prediction. Like, we don't need to go there.
So last year, right, they went through that 3-game skid. But after that, it was the Ravens game and that 3-game skid. That was what was keeping them away from that perfect season and the overtime loss against the Chiefs. Obviously, like, those count, right? Those count against you. But they destroyed so many teams. They were the 49ers last year were the only team over the last 10 seasons to have an 18-plus average point differential per win and a -8 or better average point differential per loss. Like, what they did last year was special. It was just that 3-game skid, and I know the overtime loss, but like, that's really it. And when you look at the schedule, there is one single game where I'm going to go into the week and be scared that they're going to lose, right? And it's against the Chiefs, as it should be. But if you think about the Chiefs last year in the regular season, they really weren't that good. Like, it's just insane that they won the Super Bowl last year. And it's insane, like, what Patrick Mahomes was able to do in the playoffs. But with it being in San Francisco, like, that's the game I'm going to be sweating the most. But with it being in San Francisco, with it being a revenge game, I think they're going to come up for this game and they could win it, right? And then you have that 2-game stretch with the Packers versus the Bills, but they're better than both those teams. They're better than the Packers. And right now, I know it's still the Bills and Josh Allen, but they have lost so many pieces. By the time we get to week 13, we might be saying this isn't even a scary game, right? We might not even be scared of it whatsoever because of what they lost on defense. And Josh Allen doesn't have a wide receiver 1 right now. So when you go through the schedule, it's like, I could see them winning all of these games. I really can.
I mean, that is a bold prediction. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Hyman says that mimosa must be strong. Joseph says 99% champagne, 1% OJ.
That's how you make it, baby.
I'm telling you, that Stanley Cup is filled with mimosa. You could claim it's water or whatever. I'm not buying it. To say that the 49ers are going to have a perfect season, first of all, if it happens, you're like the greatest predictor of all time. Marshmallow says 20-0 would make up for all the Super Bowl losses. It would. I mean, because then you're talking obviously a Super Bowl, which we know what that would mean to the team and Kyle Shanahan's legacy and all of that. But to be undefeated, perfect season, to have so many more games played than the Dolphins played in 72, in an era where the parity of the NFL is greater than it's ever been, would be an incredible. You're talking greatest team of all time. If they were to go 20-0, people would be saying that is the single greatest team of all time. I'm here for it as a content creator. Hell yes, because I can imagine going through the season 10-0, 11-0, 12-0. That's all anyone's going to be talking about. Can they go undefeated? The pressure every week would be great for business. As a content creator and a businessman, yes, please.
Go throw a 2nd rounder at the Browns and get either Jack Conklin or Greg Newsome the 2nd, and let's go. Fill up. That's the only spots I'm a little bit nervous of for them to go. I don't know if you can go 17-0 with Colton McKivitz at right tackle. I would love them to trade for a different right tackle, but still, even with McKivitz there, I'm still gonna stick strong with this prediction.
Shermanator says, I have a perfect season in Madden all the time. How hard could it be? I love that. Well, I feel like you've kind of ruined it for me now because the rest of my predictions compared to that are not going to look bold. I mean, that is the boldest prediction I think anybody's going to offer anywhere.
I love it. And I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it. I think this is going to be the most special season we have ever witnessed by like just a football team. I really do. What they have on paper on their roster, especially on offense, their special quarterback who does not get flustered at all. Like, I just think they have everything they need right now. I really do.
Yeah. Well, you're on record for that now. And Michelle is on record. People probably don't remember this, but I do. You said Brock Purdy is going to win 3 Super Bowls.
I did.
So, I mean,
he's got a long career ahead of him.
This would be one, certainly.
Remember, Mahomes lost. Did he lose his first Super Bowl? No.
No, he won his first Super Bowl.
He lost one of them.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
He lost one against Brady.
He lost one of them, all right? We have a Mahomes loss in there. Now we have a Brock Purdy loss. It'll be fun.
Joser says, once again, Mimosa Michelle takes the show over from Statsy. Yeah, that tends to happen sometimes. Daniel Howen says, bold prediction, Pooney starts week 1 at center. I think Pooney's going to start week 1. I don't think it's going to be center. I think he's actually going to start at right guard, and I think Feliciano is going to start at center. Jake Brendel has an arthritic knee, which we found out about from Kyle Shanahan. That's not ideal. He's been getting reps at center and OTAs. I think Pooney is going to be your week 1 starter on the offensive line.
I like him, so it's okay, but it is nerve-wracking when a third-round rookie has to come in and start, but I do think he's a good player with a good experience in college, and maybe it'll take some time, but luckily, like, I'm not really worried about the Jets all too much. I know they have a strong defense, not worried about the Vikings, not worried about the Rams, not worried about the Patriots, not worried about the Cardinals, not worried about the Seahawks. So
well, you're not worried about anyone because you have them winning every game.
Yeah, but I'm saying you have a good 6 games for Pooney to get his feet under him.
Okay, let's get to another bold prediction I have, which is Brandon Staley is going to take over the defense officially after the bye week. I think that I am not buying what they are trying to sell me about Brandon Staley. They asked him what his job is, and he was like, well, I'm going to be, helping and doing a lot of things. And no, dude. He is the defensive coordinator and everything but title. And I think after the bye week, he will have the title also. It'll be, be one of those announcements like, oh, Brandon Staley's going to take over play calling or whatever the case may be. This isn't that bold, but I think it's just the reality of the situation. He's a babysitter. He's babysitting Nick Sorensen, who's never been a defensive coordinator before. And I just think it's a matter of time before they do it. And the difference is, if the 49ers had just hired Staley, they would have got a bunch of crap for it, right? People would have been so upset. Oh, my God, this is so terrible. 49ers defense struggles a little bit. All of a sudden, they say Brandon Staley is going to be the guy now. Then it totally flips. Then it's great job by the 49ers. Thank God Sorensen's going to be out of the picture now. We are going to fix the defense now. It's going to completely flip. You watch.
See, I can't agree with that because I think they're going to have a perfect season. So clearly, I don't think the defense is going to struggle against the Vikings and the Patriots and the Cardinals and the Seahawks by the time, and even the Cowboys, like by the time we get to week 9, that would mean they probably lost some games. They're not changing anything. If they are going into that bye 8-0, they're not changing any Spun's title. They're not changing anything. So I can't agree with that. Also, I just don't know why either of these guys would agree to this type of. I listened to yours and Levin's show, like half of it yesterday. I just don't know why either guy would agree to this situation if that's really what it was. It wouldn't make sense for either one.
What do you mean?
Like, why would Nick Sorensen go into this knowing like he's not really the defensive coordinator and teams aren't going to take this seriously and he's not in a serious role? And then why would Staley join this without having the title that he wants?
Because one, I'm sure Sorensen probably got a nice pay bump for becoming.
Why do you think Staley's good? I'm so confused by this.
And two, I think they like Staley. I think Kyle likes him. I think Kyle coached against him in 2020 when he was with the Rams, and obviously we know that defense was really good. I think they like Staley. So I think Sorensen probably got a pay bump. What do you think
his downfalls were then with the Chargers?
They've had some injuries there, and he was also the head coach. He wasn't just the defensive coordinator. It's a different job. You have more. He wasn't just able to get in a dark room somewhere and come up with a game plan. I know he was trying to do that, but it's a different thing. And I think Staley's doing it because he wants the Shanahan bump. Everybody that touches Kyle Shanahan gets a damn head coaching job somewhere. Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, Mike McDaniel. Staley's trying to get back in the sun. And let's face it, his name is kind of mud, right? I mean, even the very mention of Brandon Staley as defensive coordinator, and people went nuts. They hated the idea, right? All of a sudden, he gets with Shanahan for a little while, especially if he takes over the defense at some point during the year and they become really good. He'll be right back in the sun again. So I think there's easy reasons for each of those guys to agree to it.
I think there's a big reason Staley wasn't hired as the DC, though. Like, he is not that 49ers type of coach that works for that. You saw that with Steve Wilkes. He didn't have the personality that the D'Amico Ryans did, that the Saleh did. Like, I feel like those type of guys that are on this defense, and they have been for a while now, they thrive off that energy. Now, I don't know if Nick Sorensen has that energy. Maybe he doesn't, but I feel like they probably were looking for a guy like that again. And maybe Staley will help out with the more, watching the film and helping out build a game plan. But I do think in terms of like the DC during game day, the ones talking to the guys, getting them hyped up, like talking to them, motivating them, that is going to be Sorensen. And I think that's so huge. Like if it was just Staley as DC, I would not be calling this a 20-0. Like Staley would be so bad in that role with this group of guys. And honestly, Staley even being with this team makes me worried about this prediction because I feel like he's just bad luck. And honestly, like you have two of the worst coaches in terms of like end of game decision making together, working together now. So that does scare the crap out of me as well. But yeah. But I'll still hold on and hope Staley doesn't have too much of a say on anything.
Shermanator says the 49ers had a babysitter for D'Amico and James Betcher, and that turned out fine. He wasn't the assistant head coach, though. He was a defensive assistant, James Betcher. That's the difference. I think there's a little bit of a difference there, but your point is well taken, Shermanator. Kyle has hedged his bets with the coaching staff before. Kyle has also said, and Staley said too, Michelle, that Staley's helping Kyle on, quote, a lot of things. And my hope is that somehow Brandon Staley can get Kyle Shanahan to be more aggressive on fourth down. I can't think of what else Staley would be helping Kyle with.
Staley got so scared to go for it on fourth down once, he got unlucky a lot in that first year. And it was just like the luck was going against him. And I understand like everyone was coming at him, but they were like a lot of those calls were the right calls. They just were unlucky against him. And then he got scared. And this is how we have two scared coaches now because they've gone through some trauma, right? I mean, you had the Shanahan losing the 28-3, whatever, but you also remember the Staley losing against the Jags after being up by 30 gazillion points as well in that playoff game. So those two together, I don't love, I'm not going to lie.
Here's the difference, Michelle. Now, Brandon Staley has sort of all of the fun of like, hey, yeah, you should go for it. And none of the pressure because nobody's going to blame Brandon Staley if it doesn't work out, right? So
please, Shanahan will throw him under the bus faster than anybody in the entire world.
Yeah, you might be right about that. But I could picture Staley as like the devil on Shanahan's shoulder, right? You've got Shanahan, ultra conservative, then you got Staley on the other side. Just go for it. The offense will score more points. It's fine. You can make up for it. I don't know. I don't know what else he could be helping Kyle Shanahan with. I would love a little more clarity on that. Strawberry React says Kyle did go for it more last year than any year previously. I don't know statistically if that's the case. It sure seems like it, though. He went for it in a huge spot in the Super Bowl, and it worked. It paid off, so I was happy to see that. But then he turtled up later when he should have continued to stay aggressive. Maybe we're slowly getting Kyle Shanahan over to where he needs to be. After enough crucial losses, maybe he'll finally get there.
Listen, get Brock Purdy to get those thighs even stronger and start that tush push, baby. Let's go.
Okay. I have another bold prediction, if I may. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to get a contract extension. I know that Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, reported that McCaffrey is not staying away from OTAs because of a contract issue. But the facts are the facts. He doesn't have any guaranteed money remaining on his deal. He's under contract for $11.8 million in base salary this year and $12 million in base salary next year. And I heard a really interesting clip from Chris Sims on Pro Football Talk. He said that Kyle has told him that obviously he's not worried about McCaffrey, that McCaffrey is a crazy worker. But then listen to this clip from Chris Sims I thought was interesting.
Going to become the Brady of running backs, right? How you hear Bijan Robinson, we saw him at the Super Bowl, him talking about that. He has taken it to another level as far as diet, workout, full-time trainer, track coach, right? He's got an MAT guy, muscle activation technique. He's got active release treatment and ART. He's got it all going on. So that is a guy that I don't think Shanahan is worried about, and he doesn't need to see Christian McCaffrey run through the C gap in OTAs and know he can still do it.
I like that little line by Chris at the end there. We've seen certain guys become outliers at the position. Jerry Rice was a productive wide receiver into his 40s. Obviously, we know Brady. Frank Gore clearly was a productive running back well into his 30s. Sometimes there are just guys like that. What if Christian McCaffrey is one of those guys? We know Kyle loves him. I think we could see a McCaffrey contract extension. I'm going to make a prediction that it happens.
Now, do you think he gets one before Aiyuk? Because that would be real.
Oh man, I hope not.
Like if they announce a Christian McCaffrey extension before Aiyuk gets his Instagram might like just burn in fire.
Cynthia, our YouTube channel member, says, Rob, I told you the other night that CMC's absence from OTAs was due to his upcoming wedding and not a holdout. No disrespect, Cynthia, but Pro Football Talk probably has more sources than you, so I'm going to kind of lean to trust them a little more than you. Not saying you were wrong, but I needed a little more, just a little more to believe that. But I do love you, and we love all.
I didn't know you had an upcoming wedding. That could be a pretty good reason, depending on where it's at.
He's marrying Olivia Copo, I think, right?
Where's the wedding at?
Oh, I have no idea.
If it's like across seas or something, that makes sense why he wouldn't do that.
Destination
Also,
wedding.
again, this is voluntary OTAs.
Yes, but Christian McCaffrey has never been a guy like he's all about it. Like
I would much rather the Isaac Guerendos and the Cody. Oh my God, I always want to call him Schrager because of Peter Schrager, but Schrader. Let them get work and touches. CMC doesn't need him in OTAs. Keep his body. I don't even want him. He could take training camp off if all he wants. Like, don't even put anything else on his body.
Another reason why preseason is going to be so much fun because you're going to see Guerrero and you're going to see Schrader and like. First of all, you can't have two more opposite running backs. Guerrero is like 220 plus pounds and runs a 4.33, and Schrader's like 5'0" and runs a 4.61. That's going to be fun to see those two guys. But I think McCaffrey he's 28 or he's going to be 28 next month. And I think people are going to be like, well, running backs 28, you get up there. And then I think the 49ers are going to look at it different. I think he has a good chance to be part of that next 49ers core, which is surprising to say.
I don't think it'll be like a long-term contract, but I could see them increasing his pay a little bit, maybe a little bit more guaranteed money, just like restructuring it a bit to get more guaranteed money. Maybe that would be it.
We'll see. All right. Do you have any more bold predictions?
I don't. I came with those three. I came strong. That's all I got.
Okay. Yeah, I went through all mine as well. Let's get to some of the bold predictions from the peeps. I got some starred ones here. Okay. Gameplan.exe on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Says, my first bold take, Ricky Pearsall finishes the season with more yards than Deebo. My question on this would be, are you assuming Deebo gets hurt? Because if you are, which is a totally fair assumption, I could be down with it. If they both play 17 games, I would be stunned if that actually happens.
And are we talking just receiving yards or both? Because Deebo had over 1,000 scrimmage yards last year, which is crazy. And I do expect Deebo to have fewer rushing opportunities this year. So that would also take down his scrimmage yards. If you're just talking receiving, I don't hate it. I really don't.
Man, that would be so. I mean, Deebo had 1,400 yards on fewer than 80 catches, and he had 77 catches in 2021, and he had 1,400 receiving yards.
This is only if Pearsall is Pearsall. Oh my God, Pearsall. I hate this name, and I don't even like the player very much. Oh, so it bothers me. This is all if he ends up being good, right? If he ends up being the player that many think he can be. I mean, he has a lot of fans, right? Florida Gator fans love him. A lot of people in the draft industry who do way more work than I do, they really like him. I'm not as high on him, but if he ends up being what everyone else thinks he can be, then I won't be that shocked because I think they took him in the first round for a reason. They want someone that's a better separator than Deebo that can get open intermediate, and they can utilize him more on passing downs and hopefully pass more this year. So I wouldn't be shocked if Pearsall had like 750 yards and Deebo was maybe like 740 or something and like barely beat him just because he loses some time if he does end up being good.
Deebo better have more than that, man. He's getting paid a lot of money.
What did Deebo have this past year? Like 800?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I could see you Googling it, so I'll let you do it instead of racing to try and beat you.
892. He did miss a couple games. But if you do expect him to get some targets taken away, should be taken away for Aiyuk, right? If Aiyuk gets paid, there should be a lot of targets there. I do expect him to throw more, but you have to find targets for your first round wide receiver. Kittle should be getting more targets. If he's towards under 800, loses 100 yards, I wouldn't be that shocked.
What do you think of this question? Stats, Michelle, how many interceptions will Brock have this season? Will he have less than last year? I know there were a lot of people worried about Brock Purdy and interceptions, especially because of what he did in the training camp in the preseason. Brock had 11 picks last year. There are many people that will tell you he should have had more. What do you see for Brock in 2024?
What's funny was going into last year, we were saying Brock could probably throw more. Remember, he was getting really lucky in his rookie season. We were like, ooh, like there was a lot of throws. He does that. And I'm okay with that. I mean, how many times does Mahomes almost throw an interception? Mahomes interceptions have been really high as well over the last couple of years. Not really high, but 13, 14. Like he throws them as well. Josh Allen, we know, throws them. Like Joe Burrow throws interceptions. Some of the best quarterbacks in the league, they throw interceptions. You don't have to be that worried about them. If he throws 40 touchdowns and still has 11 interceptions or 12, I'm okay with that. So I still have him around 10. He'll probably throw 10, 11 interceptions. I'm not worried about it. That happens. You have to be aggressive at times. You have to take risks.
When the Rams won the Super Bowl in 2021, Matthew Stafford led the NFL in interceptions.
It's
But
17.
If you're throwing 40 touchdowns, it doesn't matter. That's the difference. We got so terrified of interceptions with Jimmy Garoppolo because he didn't put up 40 touchdowns, so they were crippling. But if you're scoring that many points, you can overcome them, especially if you're not throwing pick sixes.
Mahomes had 14 interceptions last year. Mahomes had 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I'm sorry, like we're so worried about Brock Purdy's 31 and 11, right? And it's just like, I don't even know how Mahomes and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I just get so annoyed every time I think about it because, like, how did it go from that regular season to that postseason? I'll never understand. But again, like, these are the last 3 years for Patrick Mahomes: 14 interceptions, 12 interceptions, 13 interceptions. And we all agree he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever step foot on a football field. You can throw interceptions. It is okay.
And I think that, like, people think of Brock Purdy as having an interception problem. He had 11 last year. 4 came in one game against the Ravens.
Yeah.
So 7 interceptions the rest of the season.
And the reason I'm saying he might have 10, 11 again, like if he's only going to throw 444 pass attempts, I would say he's going to be down towards 8 interceptions. He's not going to have that 4 interception game again, I don't think, especially because I have them winning every game. So he better not. But but like, if I do expect him to go up about 100 pass attempts this year, as it should be, get up to just 540 again, that's not even middle of the league yet. Then yeah, he'll probably still have 11 interceptions because you're just throwing more.
And I like this comment from Strawberry Reacts: is anytime a defensive back breaks up a pass an almost interception. I think there are like people out there that just look at it like that. Like they're on the lookout. They want to make sure that they name every time that they think that Brock Purdy might have thrown an interception. It's a turnover-worthy play. It's turnover. It should have been an interception. Forget everything that comes after it because it should have been an interception.
And also, like, these all equal out, right? How many times for all quarterbacks, do interceptions not be on the quarterback whatsoever? Like their guy dropped the ball or tipped or ran wrong route or something, and it got intercepted even though it wasn't the quarterback's fault at all. It still goes against them. So they all equal out. The ones that get dropped and should have been ones, the ones that did get intercepted and should have never been intercepted, they end up equaling out at the end of the year. It's really not that big of a difference.
God, if I have one more Packers fan in my mentions talking about a dropped interception from Darnell Savage with 5 minutes to go in the first quarter of a playoff game, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. The Packers are chirping about that, Michelle. Sean Nixon was chirping about it. Then another player chimed in on Diamador Lenore and started flapping his gums. Like, the Packers are kind of fast becoming, they're renewing, I should say, because they were in the past. They're renewing the rivalry with the 49ers. I'm here for it. Bring it on. Anything that provides a little more juice to these games, I'm all for. But holy hell, they make it seem like no one's ever dropped an interception in a game before.
They also make it seem like they were the best team in the world last year.
Right. You barely made into the playoffs.
They barely made the playoffs. You're right. And they beat the Cowboys. Good job. Every single team beats the Cowboys in the playoffs. Like, good for you. Good for you. Like, you're not the only team that surprised the Cowboys. Everyone beats them in the playoffs.
Right. It's like they want to take every coulda, woulda, shoulda and put it in the 49ers' favor. They're like, oh, we missed a field goal. So did the 49ers. Like, it's bizarre to me how the Packers and their fans want credit. They want credit for a win. They want credit for keeping the game. It's like, dude, you freaking lost.
The NFC North should be very interesting this year, though. With the Lions being exciting, I do think like the Packers will be definitely a playoff team in this NFC. Like, at least be vying for one, but they should be a playoff team, especially they have the easiest schedule I've ever seen in my life. And then, you got the exciting Bears with Caleb Williams and their offensive players and good defense. And we'll see how good JJ McCarthy could be right off the bat. And also, what are they doing with Justin Jefferson? Nobody knows, but
I haven't looked at the Packers schedule. I'm looking at it real quick. Eagles, Colts, Titans, Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, Texans, Jags, Lions before a week 10 bye. Then Bears, Niners, Dolphins, Lions again, Seattle, New Orleans. Yeah, it's not crazy tough.
So I was going more towards. I was thinking it was the easiest schedule ever in terms of fantasy football. Like Jordan Love and Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, I'm really excited about for fantasy. Jordan Love, though, he's going to have a good fantasy year. I mean, he's playing so many bad defenses.
Yeah, I think he's going to put up. I think he's going to have a good year. I'm not saying Jordan Love is a bad quarterback.
That's exactly how I started. I don't think he's a bad quarterback at all. I think he's a very exciting young quarterback. He's just not Brock Purdy.
Right.
But he's going to put up great. Look at those. So that's what I meant more. Look at the defenses. Like maybe, yeah, they're playing some good offenses too, but look at those defenses they get to play.
Yeah, the Colts defense.
Right. I mean, right off the bat, you get the Eagles, who allowed the most passing yards in the league last year, or no, second most behind the Commanders.
So yeah, look, they'll be there. They will be reckoned with in the NFC for sure. I think that at some point, obviously, the 49ers are going to play the Packers, so obviously they're going to have to deal with them. But I wouldn't be stunned to see the Packers in the playoffs. I mean, right now, if I had to pick the playoff teams in the NFC, I'm taking the 49ers to win the NFC West. I'm taking the Falcons to win the NFC South. That's the thing with Green Bay. They might not even win their division. The Lions winning that division would stun nobody. I don't know. I think I will pick the Packers to win it, but it wouldn't be stunned if the Lions did.
What do you mean not stunned? I would fully expect the Lions to.
No, I'm not buying into the Lions. I'm not like, oh, watch out for the Lions. They're going to be there every year. Like, I wouldn't be stunned.
I like the Lions a lot.
So I would say Green Bay and Detroit will both make the playoffs. The Falcons will make the playoffs. The Niners will make the playoffs. Predicting the NFC East is tough, honestly, because I feel like there's a different division winner in that damn thing every year. And I really hate the way the Eagles finished the year, the way they just completely spiraled down the stretch, and all because Big Dom wasn't there to keep your baby of a head coach in check. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I think he'll come back and have a strong year. I do. So if I had, did you name all your people, all your 7?
I didn't actually pick. I guess I'll pick the Cowboys had a terrible offseason.
They're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Will they? Is
yes.
I don't know. Micah's, he wants his deal. CD wants his deal. Dak wants his deal. Maybe they're not all in. Maybe they're not all pulling in the same direction in Dallas.
They still also have to pay Zach Martin over $20 million a year too. They have to figure that out too. They're screwed. The Cowboys are screwed for the future. They 100% are, especially after this year. I think they have one more year of being a good regular season team. We know they're still not going to win anything in the playoffs. They have one more year of that, and then after that, they might. Oh man, it might all fall for them.
Lance M says, Mimosa Michelle says love is good. He isn't Purdy, and she'll bash your face in with stats. Not with me, with actual statistics.
Yes, I won't punch you, I promise.
Gee, thanks. All right. Who are your NFC playoff teams?
All right. So I have the 49ers, obviously the first seed, since they're going 20-0.
Right.
And then I'm not doing seeds the other ways, but I would put the Lions in, the Eagles in, the Cowboys in. So that's 4 teams. The Packers in, that's 5 teams. The Falcons in, that's 6 teams. And then I think the Bears. So I think only one NFC West team makes it.
Wow, the Rams are not making the playoffs.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's a huge loss. I think their offense would be pretty solid, but I could see them, Aaron Donald doesn't make the difference of 1 or 2 games. I think there's going to be a lot of 9 and 8 teams in the NFC, and they'll be fighting for one of the last spots, but I think the Bears will get it.
I do have the Niners losing to the Bears, so I don't know if they're going to be in the playoffs, but Vic G says, how's Jacob Cowling been at OTAs? Here's the thing, Vic, he hadn't been there, and they haven't said why, which I think is interesting. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what the deal is.
Has he signed his contract?
Yeah, the only 49er that's unsigned right now is Ricky Pearsall. Everybody else, UDFAs, draft picks, everybody else has signed.
So Cowling should be there to be able to get his chances in before Pearsall signs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it. We will see. But those are our bold predictions for 2024. If you have a bold prediction, let us know. If you can leave it in your Apple Pods review, that would be amazing. comments and ratings and reviews on Apple Pods are how people discover us. It's how we get up on the charts. So if you want to see us higher on the charts, please leave a review. We will read it on the show. I promise you. Michelle, you're going to be on a boat, you said, later today?
Oh, yeah. No, not later today. Today I'm playing pickleball and chilling out. But on Sunday for Memorial Day, going out to Galveston, which is like the beach area around here, and going out on a big boat. I have a friend that's a yacht salesman, so it'll be fun.
You just like slip that in. I have a friend
He used to be a boat captain on this like crazy boat, but now he sells yachts, and then we get to go on one. I'm very excited.
Oh, all right. Well, I hope everybody has a happy and safe Memorial Day. I am going to be on Memorial Day. I'm going to be hosting on ESPN Radio from 10 a.m. Eastern time to 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. It is a marathon session. The first couple hours of that, I think, are going to be on TV or at least on the Watch ESPN app. So I'm very excited about that. If you are traveling, if you have any time whatsoever on Memorial Day, flip on a TV, flip on a radio, turn it on your phone. I would appreciate it because it's looking forward to it. It's going to be a very fun time. And I still get a thrill out of the fact that I get to go back to ESPN and host at a place that I worked all those years. So please tune in for that. Everybody be safe Memorial Day, please. I know we like to drink, whatever, that's fine. Just don't do it and get behind the wheel of a car for the love of God.
Ubers, baby. Ubers.
Yes.
And also I want to say happy birthday to Mark Pelkey. It's his birthday
Oh.
weekend. Happy birthday, buddy.
Yes, there you go. Mark, what are you doing, Mark? Well, I can't end the show now. What are the plans, Mark? What are the birthday plans? I love making a big deal out of my birthday. I love it. I don't care. People are like, if you celebrate your birthday and you're an adult. Yeah, I celebrate it all the time. Damn it.
I love other people's birthdays. I don't love mine as much. I get awkward during mine. I don't like people making a fuss, but I do love making a fuss for other people's birthdays. So I'm going to do a nice, I'll drink the rest of this little mimosa for you here, Mark. Congrats.
There you go. Mark, tell us what your plans are. I'm going to be 40 in January too. So I'm definitely making a big deal out of this one. All right. Well, Mark is not chiming in yet. So, he says, hanging with my son. We're going golfing. Well, there you go. That is a damn good way
That's
to
a nice
celebrate
weekend.
your birthday. Absolutely. Took my son to his first Major League Baseball game yesterday, Michelle. It was awesome. He got
I saw the pictures. They're very, very cute.
Ice cream in the helmet. Best thing ever. I highly recommend it. Anyway, enjoy your rest of your day, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.